Hey guys, Michael J. Crawford here, and welcome to day 13 of our 40-day fast. Today we're going to be reading from the Gospel of John, chapter 9, verses 1 through 41. As he was passing by, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples questioned him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" "Neither this man nor his parents sinned," Jesus answered. "This came about so that God's works might be displayed in him. We must do the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world." After he said these things, he spit on the ground, made some mud from the saliva, and spread the mud on his eyes. "Go," he told him, "and wash in the pool of Siloam," which means sent. So he left, washed, and came back seeing. His neighbors and those who formerly had seen him as a beggar said, "Isn't this the man who sat begging?" Some said, "He is the one." "No," others were saying, "but he looks like him." He kept saying, "I am the one." Therefore they asked him, "Then how were your eyes opened?" He answered, "The man called Jesus made mud, spread it on my eyes, and told me, 'Go to Siloam and wash.' And when I went and washed, I received my sight." "Where is he?" they asked. "I don't know," he said. They brought the man who used to be blind to the Pharisees. The day that Jesus made the mud and opened his eyes was the Sabbath. So again the Pharisees asked him how he received his sight. "He put mud on my eyes," he told him. "I washed and I can see." Therefore some of the Pharisees said, "This man is not from God, for he doesn't keep the Sabbath." But others were saying, How can a sinful man perform such signs?" And there was division among them. Again they asked the blind man, "What do you say about him, since he opened your eyes?" "He's the prophet," he said. The Jews did not believe this about him, that he was blind and received sight, until they summoned the parents of the one who had received his sight. They asked him, "Is this your son, the one you say was born blind? How does he now see?" "We know this is our son, and that he was born blind," his parents answered. "But we don't know how he now sees, and we don't know who opened his eyes. Ask him. He is of age, he will speak for himself." His parents said these things because they were afraid of the Jews, since the Jews had already agreed that if anyone confessed him as Messiah, he would be banned from the synagogue. This is why his parents said, "He is of age, ask him." So a second time they summoned the man who had been blind and told him, "Give glory to God. We know that this man is a sinner." He answered, "Whether or not he's a sinner, I don't know. One thing I do know, I was blind and now I see." Then they asked him, "What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" "I already told you," he said, "and you didn't listen. Why do you want to hear it again? You don't want to become his disciples, do you?" They ridiculed him. "You're that man's disciple, but we're Moses' disciples. We know that God has spoken to Moses, but this man, we don't know where he's from." "This is an amazing thing," the man told them. "You don't know where he is from, yet he opened my eyes. We know that God doesn't listen to sinners, but if anyone is God-fearing and does his will, he listens to him. Throughout history, no one has ever heard of someone opening the eyes of a person born blind. If this man were not from God, he wouldn't be able to do anything." "You were born entirely in sin," they replied, "and you're trying to teach us?" Then they threw him out. When Jesus heard that they had thrown the man out, he found him and asked, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" "Who is he, sir, that I might believe in him?" he asked. Jesus answered, "You have seen him. In fact, he is the one speaking with you." "I believe, Lord," he said, and worshipped him. Jesus said, "I came into this world for judgment, in order that those who do not see will see, and those who do see will become blind." Some of the Pharisees who were with him heard these things and asked him, "We aren't blind too, are we?" If you were blind, Jesus told them, you wouldn't have sin. But now that you say, we see, your sin remains. According to retribution theology, bad things happen to bad people and good things happen to good people. The classic Old Testament example of this is Job, when his friends tried to find out what sin he committed that God must have been punishing him for. We see in this passage that despite 42 chapters of disproving this in Job, it is still a pernicious idea in the New Testament world. Jesus' disciples assumed that this man's blindness must be a consequence of sin, but Jesus' response is transformative. Neither this man nor his parents sinned. This came about so that God's works might be displayed in him. Jesus shifts the focus from human blame to divine purpose. The man's blindness was not a punishment for wrongdoing, but an opportunity for God to reveal his glory. Sometimes our hardships are the very platforms God uses to display his power, mercy, and love. When the blind man obeys what Jesus told him, his sight is restored. And not only was his sight restored, but he also came to believe in Jesus as the Son of God. His blindness had prepared the stage for God's works to be displayed, both physically and spiritually. Our trials and struggles serve a higher purpose. It is tempting to ask, why me, when faced with hardship? But throughout this passage, Jesus invites us to trust in God's sovereignty. Our pain, confusion, our suffering are often the very circumstance in which God chooses to reveal his power and grace. Let this story be a reminder God is always at work, even in our darkest moments. Our struggles can be the canvas on which God paints his glory for all to see. Trust in his purpose, even when the reason for the pain isn't clear. Begin praying with Psalm 34, verse 19. One who is righteous has many adversities, but the Lord rescues him from them all.